Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Live Composing. It's been quite the week. Done a lot of these, and perhaps that's one of the biggest benefits of this COVID social distancing season is can actually sneak in some more live streams. Have to be a little bit more creative about when I do them. Can't always do them at the same time every day, but this has been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. What feels like almost every day or every other day, and this has been a ton of fun. So many of you know, I'm Stephen Melin, music composer for the screen, and we are working on the Monster Sanctuary soundtrack. YouTube has been a wonderful vehicle to help share that process with you guys. As we're getting started here, welcome Robin, The Basement, Sumik, a bunch of others who are piling in here today. We're going to be spending the next hour or so, however much time we do have, working on part 2 of the Abandoned Tower track. We started this yesterday? I don't even know what day it is anymore, guys. It's pretty rough. I woke up this morning thinking it was Saturday. Apparently it's Thursday. COVID crazy. Yeah, so I just wrote, I don't even know what day it is anymore, but here we are. It's good. I do know, though, that I need to finish this track by next week and a couple other tracks. So I'm really get the fire lit. Really trying to finish some of this stuff and get it as polished as possible, because there's a big update coming next week for Monster Sanctuary. That is the Underworld update. For those of you who've been playing through the game, it's quite a big game, and every month or so, the devs put out a new update on Steam for the game, and it's a free update, very much how Shovel Knight does free updates. They've been doing that for years, it seems. And yeah, it's just new environments, new parts of the story, new monsters, and all that good stuff. So there's more music, which is a ton of fun. And so today we're working on the Abandoned Tower track. If you listened to the very beginning of the stream, you heard what we have so far. It's already a little bit different than what you heard the last time I streamed part 1 when we created the track. And a quick side note, even before we write music, I've always found that my least favorite part of writing music is actually the first sitting. There's something about writing music and then taking a break, like literally a sleep, coming back either the next day or a few days later. There's so much clarity because your brain has had time to process. It's had time to kind of erase all the bad ideas and think of new good ideas. And there's a new objectivity that you can come to the project that you just have so much more musicality and creativity than the first day. So what I want to do more of here on YouTube is do more second, part 2 streams and part 3 streams, because that's actually what I find to be the most musical anyway. Because we all have our gut reactions of what we think we should do for a track, but then when we revisit it, there's so much clarity. And that's what I just did with this track. I just spent about 30 minutes on it and noticed that I had a lot of weird chords that weren't working. I had some weird melodies that weren't working. And it was just so obvious. And I just made my little edits. And then now everything's starting to sound a lot more cohesive and a lot more like a polished piece of music. So let's jump through a couple of the changes I made just so we're on the same page here. And whoopsies. This is not going to be fun because my camera's not plugged in. Give me a second. Here, I'll let you stare at a blank screen for like 10 seconds. In the meantime, I want to hear in the chat, what are you most interested about the music for Monster Sanctuary? Oh no, I'm so sorry, guys. No. My life. Okay, what I was just saying, which is quite ironic, I just said, well, look how I just ninja'd that. I switched out the USBs while you could still hear music and still talking, and then the whole time I hit the flippin' mute button. Oh, story of my life. Oh well, yeah, if you had told me 2 years ago, if that had happened 2 years ago, any of these little fires, dude, I just would have quit the stream and said bye. I wouldn't even have tried again. Anyway, yeah. Here's the good news about streaming is I now have 3 screens. So I can see everything you see, I can hear everything you hear, and because the way I have it routed, yeah, it's beautiful. I can see everything. But if there's ever a situation like that where you're like, oh no, the music's not playing or the mic's not playing, it's because I stupidly pushed the mute button, and that's just my fault. Anyway, so back to the show. So a couple things that I changed. Probably the biggest thing that I changed was the chord progression from the intro. And then, of course, the chord progression from the A section. So I do want to walk through that. I had the bright idea when I started this track to write in C sharp minor. I love C sharp minor because it's probably the darkest key, in my opinion. Some people say D minor is the darkest, but I feel like, just in my gut, that C sharp minor is the darkest. And that's probably just because, as a classical pianist, I've spent so much time playing Beethoven. I want to pull up my screen here so you can see. So you just pull up a piano here, right? We got Moonlight Sonata, C sharp minor. So sad. Right, it's just a very dark quality to it. And I feel like that's the style that I want for this track. Based on the reference tracks we looked at yesterday, kind of with my own Monster Sanctuary style, that's the direction I'm going. So with that in mind, I didn't want to get overly complicated, so I simplified the chord progression. There's still a lot of augmented and diminished chords in here, but the through line is the bass is going to go walking by a half step every single chord. So just to geek out on music theory for a second. So we're going C sharp to a B sharp to a B to an A sharp to a G double sharp, also called A, G sharp, F double sharp, also called G, then back to the G sharp. Isn't that pretty cool? And then you just find the chords that match within the key. So C sharp, then I don't even want to say all these because they're just nasty in harmonics, but C sharp minor, and then we have, all right, G double sharp diminished over B sharp. What the heck is that? And then G sharp minor over B, then F sharp over A sharp, and then A diminished 7, or in this context, G double sharp diminished 7. And the E. And then C sharp diminished over F sharp, F double sharp. G sharp, the 5 chord. But make it a 7, 5, 7 to give it more classical back to the 1. So that's the whole intro, and I think it works really well. Very chill, very spooky. And it has a descending chord, right? Because we're just like that. But then the A section, I want it to repeat twice, and now I want to do the opposite. I want the bass to go up. A little bit more jumpy jump. And we'll talk about those chords in a second. I want to answer a question from John Connors saying, are you going to continue streaming HBO Westworld? Yes, I will. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Tomorrow around the same time, around 12ish, noonish Eastern Standard Time. I try to jump on here after lunch with the kids, but it's not always the same time because we got baby sleeping. That's when I can get on here. But yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. But right now, this is a higher paying priority. HBO Westworld is not a paying gig. It's a contest. Anyway. And that's so funny. DirectX is saying it. This reminds him of the final level from Sonic.exe. Oh, this is a classical, it's a minor classical chord progression. It's when you walk by half steps, go down to the 5/7, back to the minor one. It's a very Beethoven thing to do, which I think works in this context pretty well because it's kind of a medieval vibe and we got choir going and stuff. Low dark piano. So this A section, the chords sound like this: C sharp minor, and then D sharp diminished 7. Back to C sharp, but over an E. Then keep going up. F sharp diminished 7. Then a super interesting chord. I want to get a C in the bass, which is actually a B sharp. So we're gonna make that a B sharp augmented. Back to the C sharp. And then to start the cadence, we're going to go to a G sharp, which is the 5 chord. But in this case, we're gonna put a C sharp minor, we'll just call it a second inversion. And then go to the 5/7. Cool. It's very dark and it works because the intro is descending and the A section is ascending. It's going high. So with that, now we have to kind of choose our instruments. I experimented with putting more low bassy things in the beginning, but it's not as spooky. I think it's cooler if we have a more sparse texture. And even as I say that, I think I'm going to be a little bit more modest here in my choices. I do think I want to make it as sparse as possible and then kind of let the bass drop here at A heavier texture, because this is where we're going to loop right here at the intro. And another side note is I did take the tempo and I drug it down 4 BPM, not a lot. It was at 74, now it's at 70, just to get a little bit slightly slower context. I don't want this to be fast, but I don't want it to be like super slow either. Anyway, so here's what we have. I think like I experimented with putting these low boom, 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 boom on the downbeats, but I don't think it works. It works, like it sounds good, but it doesn't create the kind of the fear that we're looking for in this intro. I think just having the choir pad delay is pretty epic sound because it kind of sucks you in because it's so small, and then get to the A section, it all just kind of drops, right? Question from DirectX says, are the synth choir sounds being produced by the keyboard or the VST? 100% of the samples, me and Peter, my assistant, we created all of these before we wrote the soundtrack. So like this choir pad is literally a contact patch that I created in Cubase and then turned into, like I used Massive, which is a sample library by Native Instruments. We like created patches and then we dished them into Pro Tools, chopped them all up, and then threw them into Contact, made patches. That way we could create a blank session of Cubase that we can share remotely through Google Drive. And every time I make a change, he gets the changes. And that way we can literally work on a session at the same time and go back and forth and make really, really quick changes in the same day and work simultaneously towards the goal of having finished tracks, which is such a cool and unique way. We had a brainstorm at the beginning, like how the heck are we going to do this? And I thought that was a really cool solution we found out. So literally these are just wave samples thrown in here and looped with attack and delay and stuff and decay knobs. So you play it. It's our own custom samples, which is why I think this soundtrack sounds so unique. Anyway, back to the show. Isn't that creepy? That's what we need in here. Some kind of 16th notes. But it's got to be something that's not already... Like it's got to be really closed off, muted sound. So what we have here is a G sharp. Something like that. That way the drop feels a little bit more epic. Delay piano. Let me try that first. I know we're already using piano delay here. It might be a better fit to use the dark piano since there was a lot of delay happening in that little moment. Let's put it there for now. And I don't usually double these on top of each other, but sometimes I like to use two pianos at the same time that have different timbres. I'm not going to use the pedal because the pedal's going to take the delay and like go 1,000 times out. Something like that. The alternative is to have complete silence, which could also have the same impact, which I'm actually leaning towards. Let me try complete silence. Because my tendency is to overwrite, I'm going to intentionally withhold today and choose silence over more, right? I want to choose less is more today with this track because this track does not need more, it needs less. If anything, I need to be taking things out. Another big change is I added these strings, and this was actually a happy accident of quantizing wrong, but it actually worked out great. Where I do eighth notes for the first A, and then the second section I'll do the exact same chords and notes, but with 16th notes. So here's the eighth notes. This kind of creates this almost a waltz, even though we're in 4/4. But then all of a sudden we go to this. Same chords. But I think it works because now we're going to add the kick and the hi-hats and the bass, which gives it a whole new texture. That's kind of where I'm coming from here today. So I want to make sure, before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to clean up some of these chords because that's really what's holding me back at the moment. I want to keep the textures though. So I think it'd be good if I start with choir and let's record two things. The first is for the A1 section, I want to, let's just call it A1 because it's the same chords, but I want to start with, recording the chords, and then the A2 section, I'm gonna go. I want to do little stabs, and I'll just use the normal chord choir pad without the delay to do the short ones. Same patch, just one without delay. I think it'd be pretty cool. Now let's take the choir pad here and do the stabs. Like that. I'm trying to decide if I want to keep the same inversions or not. I feel like if I go too high, the choir just like steals the show. I don't want that. I literally want the same chords. There we go. Let's do it. You're calling this a raid? That's funny. Man, this is a good theory practice on working on these chord shapes. Man, I spent so many hours back in my college days as a piano performance major, working on all my scales, all my different chord shapes and inversions and augmented, diminished chords and all this stuff, but I really don't use this stuff all the time. It's just really nice to brush up on some of these things, and it's just kind of shocking to me how much I remember. My hands remember how to voice these chords and stuff. It's pretty wild, but that's what happens. I mean, this is why I strongly encourage any of you, if you want to get really good at music, play piano and like really get serious about learning classical music. It's a huge time investment. It's not for everybody, but it's certainly a way to internalize what you do. And hey, Happy Rogue says, this is giving me BioShock vibes. I love it. Or I like it. That's cool. Had a really cool opportunity for a summer back in 2014, I think. This is right after BioShock Infinite released. I got to work with Gary Scheinman with his BioShock music as an assistant. So that will forever be one of the styles that influences me, no doubt. Cool. I like everything about that right there. So while I'm kind of on that train, I don't want to go to the B section until I have this cleaned up. This is kind of the stuff that you do on day 2 of a piece. You want to make sure that your chords are all aligned vertically. Now that I've created the horizontal piece, the composition itself, now it's production time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to any of the moments that are not fully fleshed out, like this right here. This bass line is not fleshed out. And one of the quick ways I do that within Cubase, you can do it with any DAW, is I like to chop up a region and then color it. So obviously all of the whitish, bluish sections are the ones that I've recorded in and quantized, and they're ready to go. They're done. But the orange ones are the ones that I either had a wrong note in it or I didn't like the performance, but I didn't want to let that stop me from completing the composition itself. Because sometimes as composers, we can get really we can put on the producer hat and get lost in that world and lose all of our time and then forget why we even did what we did, right? So I like to stay in composition mode as long as possible and then switch the hat to production. And of course you're gonna go back and forth, but anytime I can like do a quick annotation, AKA using a color, that allows me to acknowledge that it's wrong, move on, get my pride out of the way, and then come back to it perhaps another day, like right now. I think it's a really interesting way to acknowledge and move on. So this right here, I muted it because Same reason. Like sometimes I don't ever delete something the first time. I mute it and see if the track is better without, and then I'll delete. So right now I know that this is better without. But what it does is it gives me a visual reminder that there was something here, and now I'm going to re-record on top of it, knowing that I wanted staccato bass notes versus long bass notes, because you don't want to kill the original idea that you created. But yeah. And Demo says in the chat, that color coding is a great idea. May we steal that? Of course. I hope you'll steal everything that I do if it's beneficial to you. But if it's not, don't do it. And you notice how the same thing happened here, where I didn't like either some notes I chose or something, which we'll deal with another time because we're not doing the B section yet. Here we go. So bass. I just want to follow the chords. Cool. Let's do it. This will be an easy one. And then I can take that little guy. Let's clean him up. They're all 16ths. Looks good to me. Let's move on. And then at this point, I will merge everything together. That way it's all clean, knowing that this section is not good yet. And I'll just mute him because he's not ready to go just yet. But now we're starting to really make all of this sound good. I mean, hey, the basement says in the chat, I'm going to steal this whole song. JK. I mean, if you want to. I'm going to be totally honest and transparent because that's what I do here for you guys. I'm actually totally ripping myself off right now. For those who have checked out Beard Blade, it's a game I started working on about 5 years ago now, actually. Still in development. It's a big game. Only 2 guys working on it, so that's why it's taking so long. It will come out eventually. But I've finished the entire soundtrack, and this is, if anything, I'm ripping myself off. This is pretty darn similar to an Imp Mansion track that I wrote for that game. That's a totally different vibe and whatever, but it's still in this style. So if anything, I'm ripping that off, but that's okay. Like, it's inevitable. That's just part of writing music, is you're going to sound like yourself, and that's okay. Because I'm using these instruments, this tempo, this chord progression, whatever. There's always something that makes it stand out and different, right? I mean, who's to say that every Legend of Zelda game doesn't sound the same, or every Mario game sounds the same? It's part of the zeitgeist that you create as a composer. I like all of this because it's just choir. It sounds very nice. Yes, Demo, I will sue myself in the future. So the other element I have here is I have a Wurlitzer piano, electric piano, which helps a lot. And that one's already good to go. I've already recorded that in, but I am going to clean it up by chopping it into the sections. And I'm just going to copy and paste it into the next section, which is here. There it is. Jazz note, a blues note I don't want. Quick question from Dan Bijo in the chat. asks, why do you work on bar 1700, etc.? Because I have the entire soundtrack in here. That's why. And every time I add a new track, I just go about 10 bars into the future and start a new track. And that way I can, like that, snap of a finger, I can jump to any of my markers and work on a different track. And it's a beautiful way in the crazy event that, let's say, I don't know, 6 months from now, the devs say, you know what, we love the entire soundtrack, but that dang synth cello is just driving all of the fans nuts. They hate it. Can you replace that with a different instrument? Or can you turn the mix down of that one instrument for the entire soundtrack? Sure. Boop. Export. Like, it's not, it's not a world-ending request. And you'd be surprised by some of the requests you get from game devs like a year plus after something releases. I mean, a lot of times you just have to say, sorry, no, that's not possible. But I would always err on the side of caution. Yeah, it's just a thing. Question from Alexander. He asks, do you have any recommendations on what and where to study advanced harmony topics to become more fluent with composing? Why, yes, I do. I just posted a link right there to stephenmelin.com/bestbudgetgear, and I have a full list of different categories of things like studio gear and like monitors and keyboards and computer gear, but there's a section there about books. My top recommendations for books that I used in college, books I read that have helped significantly with my harmony skills and theory skills. So just kind of go through there. That's going to be a great resource. It's quite concise. That's the whole point. I don't have 15 books in there. I have like 7, but every single one is really, really powerful. So it just goes out. That's why I took the time to make that for you. All right, cool. All right, where were we? I always want to take time to answer your questions because that's why I do live streams. It's not an inconvenience, guys. I don't want to answer questions when I'm in the middle of like a thought of composition, because then that doesn't serve anybody, right? Gosh, like my gut is screaming right here because it's like, put something there. But no, I must be disciplined and put nothing there. Let the silence breathe. I think maybe what I need is to have a shorter, a shorter delay or shorter reverb. That might be what's causing it. And I bet you that's just a result of this delay of the choir patch. So I might just want to make him shorter, like by half a beat. Yeah, like that. Same thing with this synth flute. It has a pretty strong delay on it, so I'm just going to shorten that note because I want this 2 full beats of silence. It's not actual silence, but it's like the decay of a delay. Cool. Because the question is here, I do want to address this real quick. Here, let's pop over to my left screen. You can see this. Okay, go to my website, stephenmelin.com, tools. I'm referring to this one right here, best budget gear for music studio. I may have changed the link, sorry. It's just /budget music gear. You can go to different sections, but like this section, books on my bookshelf. So there's a few here, like The Idiot's Guide to Music Composition is pretty stellar. Tonal harmony is going to teach you a lot about melodic writing. The study of orchestration is going to teach you everything about harmonies and pairings of instruments. So those are some really solid resources. I think you'll enjoy those a lot. Anyway, don't want that question to be hanging. That's it. That's the distance I wanted right there. turn down the choir in the mix, it's still very, very loud. Good backtrack. Cool, that works really, really well. That's exactly what I wanted to have happen in the strings. You notice how the top note's always an E. No, 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 no. And it's actually the one note that's consistent in every chord. That's the cool thing about augmented chords and diminished chords is you can always find one note, no, or two notes. In this case, it's an E to the D sharp. So every chord goes, yeah, in the next bar, D sharp, next bar, E, next bar, D sharp, E, 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 D sharp. So literally I made an entire 8-bar phrase out of 2 notes. And that's good harmony. That's good theory. Not that you have to follow that, but that's why we learn that stuff, right? And that's what makes a good chord progression is when you have moving chords, but you have what's called a leading, not a leading tone, a consistent, what was it called? Melodic tone? Maybe some theory people here will help me out, but there's a term for a common tone. That's it. I'm gonna just like shout that in all caps. Common tone. And the best part about streaming is you see my typing way before I say it, which is always really, really funny because people are like, "What the heck is he typing?" Anyway, yay! Streaming is like a 20-second delay. So anyway, so common tone is the term when we have, like in this case, an E that connects every single chord, or a D sharp that connects every chord, and it allows for very subtle harmony. So if you were an alto in a choir, or a viola in a string section, or a clarinet in a woodwind section, or even a second or fourth French horn player in a brass ensemble, those are all like the mid-range instruments in an ensemble. If you're any of those, you get the boring notes, right? And in 4-part harmony or 3-part harmony, you always get that middle note. So you're the one going E E E E E E E E D D D D D D D D E E E E. Meanwhile, every single other instrument gets all the cool fancy notes, the melodic notes and the bass notes. That's the structural integrity of harmony, is those middle notes. So anytime you can keep the middle note the same, that's good harmony. But anyway, I digress. I love to digress on live streams. That's what I do best. So I just wanted to check that, and yep, it's true with the pizzicato strings. And I love how we're delaying the gratification of this kick, hi-hat, and bass. Like that's the first bass note in the entire track. It's at like the 1 minute mark, and I love that because it makes the loop a lot more interesting and dynamic, which means we do need to continue this groove as we do. And very quickly, I want to take my looper bar and figure out where my actual time code is. Let me pop over to just the right screen that you can see. So this is 51:35. We want to end the track at 53:35. So let's extend it to that point. 53:35 is actually, well, how perfect that is. It landed exactly on a bar. That means it's a very good tempo. And so we don't need a D section for that reason. We just need to have a longer B section. So let's see how many loops or repetitions we can get out of this. Since we're kind of redesigning the structure here from yesterday. So B just is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So what we have is 11 bars, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 bars to work with in this scenario. So we want to have a 4-bar phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I doing that correctly? Is that really already a minute? That's just wild to me that this track is already that long. I don't feel like I've written that much music. But that's, slow tempos do that. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. That is dead on. 2 minutes. Anyway. And yeah, Demo says, the common tone is the viola part. Yeah, that's right. Hey, I play viola, so shush. Actually, I'm a violinist through and through who, over years of always playing second violin, I learned that I actually enjoy those alto notes a whole lot more than the high notes. Isn't that funny? I love common tones. I think they're the bread and butter of music. Good music. Good harmonically rich music, anyway. So I'm trying to do the math here. So this is 11 bars. I want to make sure that we do something interesting. So if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars of a B section, and then 3, I'm going to call it an outro, even though it's just 3 bars. I think that'll be an interesting way to loop it, because it's going to force us to write not new material, but like extension material or like vamping material. I'll even call it that. I think that's a better word, vamp. In musical theater, that's what you do to like stay on a chord as long as possible until it goes back to the root, in this case, the C sharp minor, the 1 chord. Yeah. So what I want to do is find here. I feel like the only way to make this work is to literally make all of the B section vamp. As weird as that sounds, I think it's going to create a sense of gratification when we get back to the loop. It's going to be like relaxation to our ears to be away from the vamp. So it has to start in a C sharp minor because we've done all these G sharp 7 thingies. But what we can do is this kind of thing, where we're actually we chill on the leading tone, which is the 7th of the scale degree. So what we're really doing is doing a 5/7 chord over the 1. And yet the whole time we feel like we're on 1, but it's a vamp. A vamp. It's not a word we use every day. So essentially, I'm just going to extend. I'm going to keep doing little loops like that. Let's just see how that feels. I don't want to even do the high notes. I don't want to go up here. Man, that's like some Sephiroth music. Whatever. I want to keep it in the low octave. So I'm even going to put this in the little notes here. That I'm going back and forth between a C sharp minor and a G sharp 7 over C sharp minor. Well, it's over a C sharp bass note. So that way it never leaves oh my gosh, you're right, Dr. Volk. Says be prepared. That's straight up Lion King. I mean, yeah, that's a Broadway musical technique to extend something without writing new material. You're literally just chilling on the 1 chord, but you're adding. It's not quite bitonality, but because we're not going to like an A major or something over it, like a C over a C sharp, something like that. But we're keeping that bass rock solid. that's where a fun chord needs to happen. So that's when the 5/7 needs to come in. On the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th bar. Yeah, yeah. So it's going to be the G sharp 7 in the bass as well. So let's do one more pass of that. Get that sucker in. Wrong chord. It also helps with the pacing because these are all full bar, like whole notes in the intro section, which make it feel slower. But by having this beat, same tempo, right? And having a harmony that moves every half note, it just helps our ears relax a little bit before we get back to the A section. So that's kind of a good essence for a loop. I like everything but that one dumb major chord I accidentally played. This one. It sounds really funny in that context. Totally wrong context. Right. No, not that. So we have this. So it needs to be a G double sharp diminished 7. How's that? How's that for a mouthful? G double sharp diminished 7. It's a thing. Go study up your theory. You'll understand that's a thing. But I have to actually play it, don't I? Gotta figure out what works best here. Maybe just a long chord. Or let's be a little bit smarter here. The game does have given me permission that if a loop does not work perfectly to the 2-minute point, it's fine. So this one is 11 seconds shy. So I can either slow down the tempo to see if it'll help stretch it out and get it closer, or just leave it alone because it's probably going to work just fine. But I like ending on a G7 like this. Like this. So I would want some more silence as a helpful friend here. Yeah, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, off. Bum. Like this. I think it helps create the space that we need. Let's keep pushing through here. We'll call it a day soon. It's almost been an hour, or has been an hour. I don't know. I have no track of time at the moment. 51 minutes. Not bad, not bad. Let's put what we have from the top. Give me a second to think on it, and we'll get back to it. So here's what we have so far. All right, let's finish this thing up. We're so close. Good point from Demudir, who says that the delay piano sounds a little funny there. It does, because we haven't quite contextualized it. So let's do that now. We're also missing we're missing a melody from this entire thing, and we're also missing the bass at the end. So let me try to get a bass in first. Gotta have a little bit of funky bass in there, because that's a staple of the soundtrack. So I'm wondering if let's keep it simple for now. I'll leave it like that for now. I think that's fine. Something like that. And I'm just going to quantize the lowest notes. Let's get some melodies in here. This is like what is desperately missing. low tone. Let's go with the less is more approach. Make some strings. I just gotta leave the intro alone. It really works all by itself. Alright, Demidier says, whirly piano is a yes. Let's see if we can find a spot here. That's gonna be the solution right there. So close. It's that end that needs help. Da, da, na. This part needs help. We just came out of this. What'd I do? G7. Ah, yeah, do the roll. That'll help with the... Right here. Boom, there's the loop. Ah, that's a perfect choice. Nice. Now, quantize everything except for the roll. The little brum. Oh, wait, it's in time. Brum. Like that. Boom. And that helps make a lot of good space for the delay. There it is. Put it all together. One of my favorite parts about Cubase is the ability to loop on top of yourself and just easily merge your different playbacks. Cool. Let's get a melody for the A section and we're done. Cool. Let's build that. Let's keep going with that. Man, this flute is the right sound for sure of what we have. I'm not gonna just make new sounds all of a sudden. Figure out where I want to start because I don't want to get choosing the first note is always the most important part of a melody. You have to know where you want to end. So I want to end on the G sharp. Da. So a lot of times it just helps to sing it. So da 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 ba da da da. So apparently I want to start on an E. I have it. Yep, strings. Now, obviously, you can't hear that super duper well, so we're going to double it, but it's a good melody. It's simple and it's singable, and we'll double that with the bell. synth flute will come in, the high melody. And that's going to help a lot to change the melody at the end. So here we go. Dang it, now I want to flip and add a piano to the beginning. Ugh, should I? So the whole purpose of this track is it's an abandoned tower. It's like there used to be people here. This used to be a thriving community, but now it's like this desolate wasteland, a lot of sadness. It's the part of the Stronghold Tower that is no longer lively. So it has this kind of air of death about it and sadness. So I kind of like this piano idea. Perhaps. Let's see if it works. Then it makes that string line have a lot more weight and meaning, actually. Maybe if I simplify my chords here. Less notes. Let me just do it, and then I can always mute it if I don't like it. Some fancy chords that I have a hard time with. Here we go. it's still a maybe to me. And here's why. If I'm going to do it, it needs to sound different. Let me just experiment for a second because that's what we need to do. Put some reverb on that really quick just to put this in context. Let me find like a nice hole. Totally different, right? Oh my gosh. Like that a lot. Oh, that's really like that gives me chills. Let's do it. Let me mute the choir just so we know what we're doing here. I can't really hear myself over it. One more time, last time. Dang it. Trying to do too much stuff at once. What's interesting is these are different chords, but you can use the same melody with both of those chords. I think it's going to work a whole lot better. And hey, welcome, Chivalrous Zek Reader, coming from the basement. I appreciate you coming. I don't know if I want that super bright in your face. We'll figure that out later. Interesting. It's not the direction I thought I was going to take it, but I'm not complaining either. Let's see if this will work here. Figure that part out later with the notes, like the exact notes to match with the choir, but earlier question was, am I going to use some cymbals? Yes. Like that. For section changes, definitely. But I'm also going to turn it down a ton. It's way too much. Yeah, I like that instrument pairing a lot. Ooh, Pedro, that's the best compliment of all time, saying that this sounds like the Oath to Order from Majora's Mask. Ooh. I like that a lot. Let me go back to this original piano. So I'm going to add some high piano notes here at the end. it is. Simplicity. 5 notes is all it took to get that to land. I guess 6 notes. I appreciate all the kind words in the chat. You guys recommending each other to coming over to these streams. Doing a whole lot more now during COVID. So subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification. I jump on here quite a bit. Love adding that delay piano in there. Cool. I think it's ready to go. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this stream, as always. If you have any comments about anything that you would want to change in this track, I always take another listen after I take my headphones off so I can listen to my studio monitors and get a much better reference to how the mix actually sounds. Headphones can only get you so far. But I'm pretty happy with this so far. Thanks for being a part. Let's play out the current version of Abandoned Tower. And I'll certainly shoot this by my assistant composer, Peter Jones. We've been working on this soundtrack for a while together, for about 5 months now. And I'll shoot this by him, and if he has any comments or whatever, knowing him, he'll want to add a cool little bass line somewhere in there, and I'll totally be happy with that. So we'll see how the final turns out. But glad you guys hang out for this time. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hit that notification bell if you haven't yet. If you want to be a part of the next live stream, they're usually around this time each weekday. I usually do about 2 or 3, just kind of depends on how busy the week is. But yeah, you guys have a good one. Listen to the final version of Abandoned Tower from Monster Sanctuary. Bye.